Now I'm going to get back to reading the Constitution because I still haven't finished it. All right, I'm either on Article 4 or Article 5, so we are almost done. After Article 4, the other articles are very short. We can definitely get to the amendments today. Finally. Finally. All right. I got about an hour and a half left. I could definitely get to the amendments. So, without further ado, I'm going to figure out exactly where I'm at Article 4. I think I'm on Article 4. And once we finish that, it should be smooth sailing to the amendments. All right, I think I'm in section 2 or 3. Where I'm at. Okay, I think we're, in section 2. We went over all the privileges and immunities of citizens. That was quite a bit. And then we read down to, I think, the second paragraph. We might have gone past the third one, but I'm not sure. So I'm going to start at the second paragraph just to make sure. A person charged in any state with treason, felony, or other crime, shall flee. Who shall flee from justice, and be found in another state, shall on demand of the executive oh executive shall on demand of the executive authority of the state from which he fled, be delivered up, to be removed to the state having jurisdiction of the crime. So the gist of that is, if you flee the state when you've been charged with treason, felony, or other crime, and then you go to another state, and then you try to hide in that state, and you get caught, you're going to get sent back to the state where the crime was, and then you're going to be held accountable for that crime. That's the gist of what that means. You ain't getting away with it. You can try, but you ain't getting away with it. Now, if you get caught, deal with it. Obviously, if you don't get caught, it's hard to hold you accountable. But if you do get caught, you're going back to the state where the crime happened, and you're going to be put in court, and they're going to make you accountable for what you did. That's what that means in Section 2 of Article 4 of the Constitution. Next paragraph. No person held of service or labor in one state, under the laws thereof, escaping into another, shall, in consequence of any law or regulation therein, be discharged from such service or labor, but shall be delivered up on claim of the party to whom such service or labor may be due. So yeah, if you're supposed to be doing a specific service or labor in one state, and then you just run away, and then they find out, you're going to be held accountable for the service or labor that you were supposed to be doing. It's another clause of you ain't getting away with it, fool. Even if you try to run, you better run outside the states and hope you don't get caught out there. Because if you run in the states and you get caught, then you're going to get held accountable. That's the last paragraph in Section 2, Article 4 of the Constitution. Section 3. New states may be admitted by the Congress into the Union. So this is how other states became part of the United States, basically. That we didn't always have 50. Took a while to get this many. Anyways, new states may be admitted by the Congress into the Union, but no new state shall be formed or erected within the jurisdiction of any other state, which means you can't just take one state and start a new state in it. Can't do that. That's already a state. You're too late. That's against the Constitution. That's why in that one Family Guy episode, the U.S. government was willing to go to war with Peter Griffin. Because you ain't supposed to be allowed to do that. But to be fair, like, his wasn't a new state. His was like a sovereign nation, is what was going on. His house became a sovereign nation because he claimed that. So then the U.S. went to war with him to claim the territory. But not really. He surrendered the territory. That's what ended up happening. He signed it away after he lost the war. So yeah, that was a good episode, Family. I'm not gonna lie. So yeah, I don't know if I read the whole thing, but I'll just reread parts of it again. Respecting the territory or other property belonging to the United States, semicolon, and nothing in this Constitution shall be reconstrued as to prejudice any claims of the United States, comma, or of any particular state. Prejudice, 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 prejudice. Prejudice. Prejudice refers to an irrational attitude of hostility directed against an individual or group based on their perceived characteristics. No prejudice. I don't like your prejudice. Get your prejudice out of here. Being prejudiced. All right, moving on. Section 4. The United States shall guarantee to every state in this union as a republican form of government, comma, and shall protect each of them against invasion, semicolon, and all application of the legislature, comma, or of the executive. And then in parentheses it says, when the legislature cannot be convened. That's when it's or of the executive. Against domestic violence. That's right. Yeah. No invasions. They gonna protect against invasions. That's it. That's one of the reasons why we all have guns. It's hard to invade the nation when we all have guns. Things have changed over time, especially since the 1700s. A lot. But it is a lot harder to invade the US when everyone has guns all the time. Compared to if we didn't. So, a lot of things have changed. That's not so much true as much as it used to be. But it's still a good factor to have. Plus now I can go and register and get like a 9mm 1911 if I wanted to, go practice on the range, get good at consistent shots. I want to aim like the shoulder, elbow, the knees, and make sure I don't hit the femur and I can bleed them out. Should also look it up if the knee would bleed them out. But yeah, because if it's just one person, yeah, I want to just disarm them and disable them if possible. If I can avoid killing them, cool. If I can't, too bad. Pop right in that. But otherwise, I prefer not kill someone if I don't have to. If I can't help it, it can't be helped. But the reality of that happening is so slim. The odds of that happening are so slim. I've never had any situation. Well, okay, I have had one situation where someone put me up at gunpoint, but they weren't even able to rob me. They were a punk with a gun. I honestly got lucky. If it was a murder, I just would have been dead. So I got lucky. Anyways, the odds of you getting held up in America are pretty slim. It depends on your area, obviously, and how you traverse that area. But in general, unless you're in specific cities that are very PvP, you're not gonna find a lot of getting held up at gunpoint. It's more likely you'll deal with a home invasion. In that case, all you need is a shotgun and to make sure your family is behind you, not in front of you. And then you just blast, you just point in the general direction, you just get to blasting. And it shouldn't kill neighbors so much because the spread of the pellet and the reality of its penetration ability through walls. Plus, shotguns in America, pretty cheap. I was looking at one at Walmart, 189. 189 to protect our home. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So, yeah, for a home invasion, I recommend shotguns. For out and about public, shotgun is not so effective. So I would recommend a 9mm pistol, particularly with me. But if you really want the stopping power, you can't beat a 45. That's a hole that goes through them that they ain't getting up from most likely. Anyways, we're not down to the Second Amendment, so I'm not gonna get too ahead of myself. Article 5. Here we go. The Congress, comma, whenever 2/3 of both houses shall deem it necessary, comma, shall purpose amendments to the Constitution, comma, or, comma, on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states, comma, shall call a convention for proposing amendments, comma, which, comma, in either case, comma, shall be valid to all intents and purposes, comma, as part of this Constitution, comma, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the several states, comma, or by the convention of 3/4 thereof, comma, as the one or the other mode of ratification may be proposed by the Congress, semicolon, provided that no amendment which may be made prior to the year 1808, because this is when they were doing stuff, shall in any manner affect the first and fourth clause of the 9th section of the first article, and semicolon, and that no state, comma, without its consent, comma, shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. So that's a whole lot of stuff right there. But a lot of it is just telling you how things work as far as putting amendments into the Constitution and how that's going to be done legally and constitutionally. So they need at least 2/3 of both houses have to deem it necessary. Without that, they can't even fully propose this. and have it get to a vote. It can't get to a vote until at least 2/3 of both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives, deem it necessary. So that's the first little thing about it. Then it's on the application of the legislatures of 2/3 of the several states shall call a convention for proposing those amendments. So only after they agree that most of them, as far as 2/3 of them, agree, then they will call a convention for proposing that amendment. And it shall be valid to all intents and purposes. So, when ratified by the legislatures of 3/4 of the central state, so it has to be 2/3 to get it proposed and conventioned. Well, convened, I guess. Convened, probably the more grammatically correct word. Then it can only be ratified by 3/4. So they had to get it even more approved. Yep. And it has to be provided that no amendment is made before things were made, which makes sense. Which is for them the year 1808. So I think no one in this modern time or in the past 200, almost 200 years. No, wait, 2025. Yeah, in the past 200 years, you don't have to worry about that part. Don't have to worry about that part. So yeah, and it has to be in a manner that let's see. The first and fourth clause in the 9th section of the article, and that no state without its consent shall be deprived of its equal suffrage in the Senate. So equal suffrage in the Senate. I'm gonna Google that real quick, just so that way it is in layman's terms, and to one, make sure I fully understand it, and two, to make sure everyone else can fully understand. So yeah, without the state's consent, no state can be deprived of its equal suffrage. Get an even more layman's term of that. Yeah, this will probably do it. What is equal suffrage? Equal suffrage means one person, one vote. So, yeah, they can't deprive you of that. So that's the gist of it. That's the layman's terms of it. There you go. So equal suffrage in the Senate would just mean that each senator has one vote. They cannot, without their own consent, have their vote taken away. They can consent to not vote, but they can't have their vote taken away from them. I don't know if anyone's ever done that. Maybe. But yeah, no one else can take their vote away. That's the whole equal suffrage thing. Especially in particular in the Senate. So that's the end of Article 5. Look at that. Article 6. All debts contracted and in. Oh. Yeah. All right. Well, I think it's break time again, anyways. It's close to break time. My dad needs something, so I'm going to just take this as an early break. Sorry, guys. When we get back, we will continue with Article 6, finish with Article 7, which is literally one sentence, and we'll finally reach the amendments. We finally got there. But after this break, deal with it. moving on. We're going to get back to reading the Constitution. So, Article 6. We have 2 articles left, and then we can finally get to the amendments. Finally. Yes, finally. Alright, and I got like 45 minutes left. So, Article 6. Whew. Finally, it's been days. It's been over a week. Because I keep getting distracted by everyone else trying to show me stuff in chat. Someone else wanted me to watch a whole full documentary on Hitler. I said no because I want to get done with reading the Constitution. We've been distracted enough. We could watch it later. World War II ended a long time ago. I'm more worried about the AfD because they're a modern threat now in Germany. That's why I was able to write down their rhyme, their reason, the injustices that come out of it, the justices that would solve them, and the responses necessary to deal with it. Because if you can't accept the situation, you won't respond to it accordingly to what the correct answers are. You won't even have a chance. It's all written out in the concept of deal with it, which in the diameter reads taking action. Without taking action, you aren't dealing with it. Anyways, Article 6 of the Constitution of the United States of America. All debts contracted and engagements entered into, before the adoption of this Constitution, shall be as valid against the United States under this Constitution, as under the Confederation, because the Articles of Confederacy were a thing before the Confederacy. The Confederacy seceded from the Union in the Civil War, and they abandoned the Constitution and just went off of the Articles of Confederation and named their entire Confederacy off of it. In their pursuit of slavery is totally just, you can't make me stop, bro. We totally made them stop, bro. You're welcome. Because imagine what would happen to the rest of the world if America didn't do what it did and prove, no, we don't want to do slavery. We're going to fight one of the bloodiest wars ever just to prove it. Things could have been really different. So thank God people fought wars that most people in this day and age would be cowards to face. It's unfortunate, but the way I've looked around at people and seen how they act, it makes me nervous that it might be true. Anyways, moving on. This Constitution, and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And all the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything, but not anything like one word, any, and then capital T, thing, ooh, that thing, anything, in the Constitution or laws of the United States, laws of any state, to the contrary, notwithstanding, which is for some reason all one word. That's right, in the Constitution, notwithstanding is all one word. And thing is capitalized. Because it's our Constitution. We could write it how we want. What are you going to do about it, bro? You mad? Too bad. It's constitutionally the law. Contrary, notwithstanding. Notwithstanding being one word. Ooh. Don't believe me? Read Article 6 of the Constitution. It's right there. That thing is right there. That's right. They did this shit in cursive too. So what does this mean? All right, let's break it down. Break it down. Because I had a lot of fun reading this one. There's a lot of stuff in here I love. I love it when they put, instead of those, they put TUSE, because that used to be an old way of saying those. It was slang back then, so I thought they were cool by putting that in the Constitution. They were so hip. It got outdated by the 1840s, by the way. Moving on. All right, it starts with this Constitution, the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance of, and all treaties made of, or which shall be made of, under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. So, this Constitution is the supreme law of the land, is the gist of that whole thing. They're just covering their asses, as far as, you know, people being like, oh, well, it's not. It didn't say it was the authority. It does say under the authority. Well, what about the ones that are made after? It does say, or which shall be made. So it's just to cover their ass, you know. Is that kind of situation. All right. And then it says, and the judges of every state shall be bound thereby, which means the judges can't rule things that aren't constitutional. They are bound by it. They are only supposed to be making rulings based on how they interpret the Constitution, which is why sometimes you get things that sound like it's unconstitutional, but based on their interpretations of what's constitutional, it's constitutional. And they're the Supreme Court. They're the highest court. There is no higher court than that. So that's the deal of the game. That's the deal. So I'm going to go get a tissue because my nose is runny. But after that, I'll get to the capital T, the any, and then it's a separate word, but it's capitalized thing. But after I get my tissue. First question, why do they capitalize thing? Because it's the thing. It's the thing to do. What thing? Anything. Basically, I don't know. Well, you can talk all the shit you want. Do you know why they did it? See, we're both idiots. Who knows? That's the thing about writing the Constitution. No one can stop you. If they all agreed to put erect instead of construct, they can put as much dick jokes in there as they want. That's how it works. That's how it's always worked. It's nothing but boys in there. You know, let the boys make noise. That's right. We are erecting it. You mean construct? Fuck you. We're erecting it. This is why we call you Hancock. Because the boys make noise, all right? Deal with it. They capitalize thing because it's funny. That's my guess. Because I don't see any reason why they did this. That's the only reason. Any capital T thing. Do you get it, guys? Yeah, we get it. Yeah, all right, write it down. No, write it in cursive. Yeah, good job, Jefferson. Good shit. All right. But anyways, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, notwithstanding. Why is notwithstanding one word? Well, is it just genuinely one word? I don't know. I've never seen it like that before. Only when I was reading the Constitution have I ever seen it like that in my life. Basically, it means in spite of. Notwithstanding is a preposition meaning in spite of. It is also an adverb meaning nevertheless, although, despite, or in spite of in legal writing. So it's a legal writing term. That's probably why I haven't seen it before. Notwithstanding, in spite of, nevertheless, all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to use nevertheless and see if it works. Anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary, nevertheless. So there you go. So yeah, always remember they capitalized thing. They did it because it was probably a dick joke. Just like how they keep putting erect instead of construct. Just accept the reality that this was written all by guys. Just deal with it. It was. Anyways, last paragraph in Article 6. The senators and representatives before mentioned, comma, and the members of the several state legislatures, comma, and all executive and judicial officers, comma, both in the United States and of the several states, comma, shall be bound by oath or affirmation, comma, to support this Constitution, semicolon, but no religious test shall ever be required. Never. Never. No religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States, period. And that is why we separate church and state. Freedom is not a test of religiousness. It is a test of your will to earn your freedom by obeying the laws of the United States. Because if you break those laws, the privilege of your citizenship and the rights thereof can be taken back. And you can be incarcerated. Prison is real. Believe that. Article 7. This one's only one sentence. Are you ready for Article 7? Here it comes. The ratification of the conventions of the United States, comma, shall be sufficient for the establishment of this Constitution between the states, so ratifying the same, period. The hell does that mean? We gonna highlight it and find out. I have only a good enough degree, so I only know good enough. So you're gonna have to clarify what the hell you talking about. So what does this mean? Article 7 declares that the Constitution becomes the law of the United States when it is ratified by 9 states. That's it. It's all saying. It's one sentence. That's it. See? That ain't even that hard. That was easy. Just 9 states? I don't know. Like maybe it got amended to other more states, but like back in the day, they only need 9 out of the 13 to be like, yeah, this is a real law. Deal with it. Keep in mind, this started with 13 colonies, guys. All right, we did it. We did it. We made it through all the articles. We made it through all the articles. That's practically halfway through the entire Constitution. The rest are just amendments. Oh my gosh, look how big this first article was. Freaking 10 sections. 10 fucking sections in this one. Article 2 was also very big, but it only had 4 sections. Some of these were really big. Article 3, only 3 sections. Article 4, a little bit more, 4 sections. Article 5, just one big old paragraph, but not that big. Article 6, 3 kind of smaller paragraphs. Article 7, 1 freaking sentence. And we finally made it. It took over a week. I did not think it would take this freaking long for me to read the whole Constitution as far as just the articles. Because I've been so distracted with listening to all you distract me, you bastards. But I love you. I love all you. Even you, freaking person I'm forgetting at the moment who keeps wanting me to read about freaking Hans Hope and all this anti-democratic nonsense you think is true because you're freaking, I don't know, you're an idiot. Talking about you have no gender, but you don't want to say what your biological sex is or what your orientation is. And say that you're being honest about who you are. Whatever. If that's how you define being honest to yourself, whatever. I told you what I was. You won't tell me who you are, so I say that you're being unfair and I'm trying to play fair and you don't want to. That don't sound honest to me. But if you want to call it honest, I mean, you can call the sky red if you want. I mean, it is kind of red on sunset, so I mean, you know, sure. Sure. But it definitely ain't green. This ain't Namek. And I guarantee you, even if you try to hide it, other people could probably look at you and tell what biological sex you are. So whatever. If you think you can make it a secret, I think you're kind of dumb. That's my opinion. Moving on. Here is the First Amendment. The First Amendment. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, comma, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. That means they cannot make laws that promote a religion or prohibit you from exercising a religion. This is the basis of freedom of religion. This right here, those sentences allow you in this country to choose whatever religion you want and practice it as long as it's an actual religion. If it's not an actual religion and it's some cult practice where they want you to drink the Kool-Aid and kill yourself, that ain't a religion. That's a religious cult. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Next, semicolon, or abridging the freedom of speech. Bam, just that little part right there, gives you the freedom of speech and no one can take it away from you. Not by law. Only I can do that by banning you in chat. Because I'm not run by the, I don't run the government. I'm not the law of the government. I'm the law of my live stream. I am the dictator of my live stream. You have no say. This is not a democracy. You will be banned whenever I feel like it. It doesn't have to be for any good reason at all. Though I will try to play fair. But don't push me. My stream is not based on the Constitution. We just read the Constitution. Comma, or of the press. Just that little part, just that tiny little part, gives the press the freedom to print whatever they want. No law can suppress them. Just with those 4 words, or of the press. That's it. That's all that needs to be. For no one to be able to touch it by law of government. Semicolon. Or of the right of people to peacefully. My bad. It says peaceably. Peaceably assemble. That's right. You can go to Comic-Con. And they can't stop you. You can go to E3 if people still go to E3. You can go to the park and invite your Facebook friends of Naruto running fools to run around like Naruto if that's what you want. As long as it is peaceably assembled, they can't stop you. This doesn't give you the right, though, to Pokemon Go across the highway. That is no longer a peaceably assemble, and you can definitely get arrested. It must be the right of the people to peaceably assemble. That also includes the George Floyd riots. You can't just light up the O'Reillys and set that business on fire just because the police did something wrong. What does the O'Reillys have to do with what the police did wrong? See, that is not peaceably assembling. That is why they could go to jail. Destroying other people's property, especially when it has nothing to do with why you're assembling to protest something, is turning into an angry mob. Angry mobs are not peaceful assemblies. They are angry mobs. And they like to destroy property and assault people. Same thing with January 6th. Everyone that went in the building peacefully, I have no problem with. Everyone that went in the building and started breaking shit, you should go to jail. That was not your property. You don't get to just destroy stuff just because you're in a mob. That is not a peaceful assembly. But people that just walked in and then walked out, they didn't do anything violent. They just said words, whatever. I don't care about that. I could give less of a shit about that. That's just me personally. I'm not a lawyer. That's just my opinion on it. Anyone that destroyed property, you should go to jail. That's just how I feel about it. So I think that, especially in our political times, in modern times, there are rights and wrongs on both sides always. If you ignore that, you're using ignorance. Duh. And using ignorance is a good, quick way to become an ignorant hubris fool. When we need to be real honest people to do things correctly. That's what you need to be to do things correctly. Because correct answers come from the truth. And you can't grasp the truth if you're not responsible. So, moving on. The rest of the First Amendment. This is the last part of it. Comma after the assembly part. Comma. And to petition the government for a redress of grievances. You can write your senators, you can write your representatives, you can write the President of the United States if you want to. He might not read it. They might not read it, but they may read it. They may or may not. But you have the right to petition the government or to write letters to them. It is in the First Amendment. It is the last part, to petition the government for a redress of grievances. As long as it is in a peaceful assembly, it is legal. If it is put through the press, that is legal. If it is from your freedom of speech, that is legal. And that is all covered in the First Amendment. This is going to be my last kind of just general opinion on stuff, but I feel like censorship is to protect children. I feel like this is a general common sense rule of the rule of censorship. It is supposed to be used to protect children. So if any adult is trying to use censorship to protect other adults, they don't understand the basic principles of censorship. And they are impeaching, in my opinion, on your freedom of speech and saying, no, you don't get to have it when I don't want like what you're saying. So I don't like that. I don't like it when people try to use the law to say you're not allowed to say the words you say around other adults. Around other children, as an adult, that is fair. That's literally what censorship is supposed to be for, to protect children so they can grow and become responsible enough to understand the deal that other people are not responsible as an adult. But yeah, if you're like at a bar where everyone's 21 and up, and someone is saying you're not allowed to say your own words because they disagree with it, tough titty. There's no children at the bar. There should be no parents bringing their children to the bar. There's no need to use censorship at the bar. I feel the same thing is true at comedy clubs. They have been telling race jokes, sex jokes, gender jokes, all these kind of jokes for a long time. Why? They're freaking hilarious. Why else would you tell jokes at a comedy club if they're not funny? That's the whole point. That's why a lot of comedy clubs, they require you to get some drinks when you go in there. Why? Because they want you loose enough, not being a stiff jerk, telling other people what they're allowed to make jokes of and what they're not allowed to make jokes of. Because those people usually get kicked out of the comedy club because they can't take jokes in a comedy club, which is a lack of maturity. That's what that's a sign of, a lack of maturity. They're not mature enough to take jokes in a comedy club, but they want to go to a comedy club and tell everyone what they're allowed to laugh at. Too bad. You went to the wrong place. No one forced you to be there. So you can't force everyone else to only laugh at what you want them to laugh at. You don't control everyone else. Deal with it. That's the mindset of a cult, thinking they control everyone else. Too bad. You only control yourself. Deal with it. Be an adult. All right, here we go. This is what a lot of people in my audience want me to read. The Second Amendment. This has been heavily requested ever since I started reading the Constitution. Yeah, hold on. I just want to read the Second Amendment first. A well-regarded militia, comma, being necessary to the security of a free state, comma, the right of the people to keep and bear arms. This is the part that everyone cheers about. Comma, shall not be infringed. And then fireworks, confetti, yeah, American flags. It's fun to say at the Y. Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that one, but yeah. Maybe born in the USA instead. Anyways, yeah. A lot of people in America love the Second Amendment. They love the crap out of it. And I do too. That's why I'm going to get my license. I'm going to get like a 9mm, like 1911. I don't feel like I need the 45. I don't know if I'm going to make consistent, accurate shots. And for me, it's not a toy, it's a tool. And I like using it for sport mostly. I don't really think I'm going to have a situation where I'm actually going to need it to defend myself in my life. If I needed to defend myself in my home in the future when I have a house and a family, I'm going to use a shotgun. And it's going to be really easy. Keep family behind me, point barrel at whatever needs blasting, and be done with it, and most likely not hurt my neighbors. Because if anyone's breaking into my house in the middle of the night and I turn on the light and they're not a family member or someone I know, they got T-minus 10 seconds to get the hell out. And if they reach for anything, they're getting blasted. Because in the Bible, it says, I can strike a lethal blow on any thief that breaks into my house in the night. And God will not hold me accountable by his law. So that is not just a legal right. That is a God-given right. So that's two authorities that say I can blast them. All right, now I'm going to see what my auntie wanted. Ooh. All right, so we finally did it. I finally read the Second Amendment like a lot of you wanted me to. You can enjoy that episode on YouTube. It'll be up tonight. And I got about 10 minutes and 50-something seconds left on this stream. So I'm going to go through maybe 3 or 4 more amendments. Ooh, the Fifth Amendment's kind of big. Maybe just 3. Third Amendment. No soldier shall, comma, in time of peace be quartered in any house, comma, without the consent of the owner, comma, nor in time of war, comma, but in a manner to be prescribed by law. So what does that mean? That means they can't just like put a bunch of soldiers in your house without your consent, especially in a time of peace, nor in a time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by laws. Meaning, like, what is it called? What's that one guy's name? It starts with an M. Martial, yeah. If they declare martial law, they can start doing things that they normally couldn't because it's a state of emergency and they got to do things quickly, even if you don't like it, to an extent that they're legally allowed to. Here's a hypothetical of them practically, maybe potentially issuing a martial law situation. It is the year 2025. Hey, that's this year. The sun has reached solar maximus. That means that solar storms are at its peak right now. They can give EMP-like effects, these solar storms, to telecommunications. That's like satellites. So, like, a solar storm hits and it knocks out a bunch of telecommunications during the end of daytime here in America. And then it starts turning to night. Meanwhile, China sends a crapload of soldiers that shoot a bunch of missiles to try and breach our barrier, while a bunch of other counter missiles shoot to counter them, which they use as a smokescreen to kind of breach during the night and try to invade. Some miracle happens and they are able to do it. And now they have to issue martial law so that way the coasts can defend against the invasion of China. They're going to do whatever they need to win. Deal with it. Because when martial law happens, as a citizen of the United States, you are subjugated to the government of the United States. You have to deal with it. That's just how it works. So deal with it. Hopefully, nothing like that happens in this year of Solar Maximus. I'm crossing my fingers because here I'm gonna just Google it. Awesome. How often do solar storms happen? Every 25 years, solar storms happen. Solar storms, powerful enough to wreak havoc on electromagnetic equipment, strike Earth every 25 years, according to a new study. And less powerful, yet still dangerous storms occur every 3 years or so. And now we're at Solar Maximus. We're at its peak, which happened in the year 2025. See, I can look it up. When is Solar Maximus? Solar Maximus is currently underway, as announced by NASA, NOAA, on October 15, 2024. This period is expected to last for another year. So, if it happens to be that 1 in 25 years storm happens in between this time, it can wreak havoc like it hasn't wreaked havoc before. especially on electronic equipment. So hopefully if it does, it won't be daytime. Because if it does, it could be a bad night that follows. So hopefully it don't. Hopefully we get at worst one of the lower ones that happen every 3 years. Hopefully we get lucky. That's what I'm hoping for. My fingers are crossed. That's why I started looking into the anti-Corinthian device, because it's an analog computer, and I was thinking like, well, what if we made a bunch of analog computers as a backup in case of these solar storms potentially? But it's very limited. Like that one was only for like using, the stars and the planets from what they understood back then to help them navigate in the sea during the daytime, because it's hard to see the stars to navigate in the daytime. And they made this thing over 2,000 years ago. So yeah, it is what it is. The Fourth Amendment. The right of the people to secure their persons, comma, houses, comma, papers, comma, and effects, comma, against unreasonable searches and seizures. That's right. This is that law. It's that one, the search and seizures law. But it's specifically the amendment. Comma, shall not be violated, comma, and no warrants shall issue, comma, but upon probable cause. That's why a lot of people that get caught up, when they find out, oh, you did it without probable cause, I'm gonna get out of this now. And if they have a good enough lawyer, they do. So that is why the police have to always make sure that before they do any bust, they have enough sufficient evidence to prove they have probable cause for the warrants to be issued. Because if they don't, and the defendants find out, especially their lawyer, if their lawyer is any good, they're gonna get him out of it. Even if they're in the wrong, that allows them to get out. That's why the police have to be very meticulous, and the state has to be very meticulous, and the judge has to be very thorough when they look over that evidence that's being presented to them to determine whether or not they have enough probable cause to issue a warrant. Because if they don't, and they don't have provable enough probable cause for that warrant, they will lose all the money that the state has used to issue the warrant, get the arrest, get the attorneys, all the court fees, and it'll all be for nothing. Well, it'll be all for zero. Zero end result. They will just end in a loss, and people could be fired for it. That's the reality of it. So continuing on, because I didn't fully read the amendment here. Probable cause, comma, supported by oath or affirmation, comma, and particularly describing the place to be searched, comma, and the persons or things to be seized. That means they have to already know who they're after, where they're going to search, and what things they're seizing before they even go and prove that they got it there and that they're seizing it and that they got the person responsible. Otherwise, the defendants can figure shit out and get out of it. and waste all the state's money, and people that may be good at their jobs might get fired, which does not help the morale of the office of law enforcement. So it is what it is. They got to do their job right, or they take a hike. That's the gist of it. The Fifth Amendment. Let me see how I'm doing on time. We are out of time. I have 7 seconds and then it is 4 hours. That means I am done for the day. It is now 4 hours. Too bad. We will start with the Fifth Amendment tomorrow. Thank you. I am Modern Anomaly. You have been watching Enough Said, where we go over the basic principles, practices, and values of the foundation of good logic, good common sense, which you have to develop or you ain't got it. With good common sense, you will save your life first. You can develop wisdom into it with practice and experience through time. You can attempt to pass these things down to your kids. If they can grasp it and put it into action, they can become addicted to using good common sense in anything they do. And that, I think, is a beautiful struggle. That's a beautiful thing. So thank you for watching. I'll be back maybe at 11 a.m. I may change the schedule because, frankly, the way things have been going here at home, I'm just not able to start at 11, which is what I want to do. I want to go from 11 to 3 because this is supposed to be for adults. This is supposed to be for people that have kids that are going to come home at 3. And this is something they can listen to in the meantime after they deal with most of their stuff they got to do, which is usually done by 11. Which is right when I start streaming. So it's unfortunate, but I might have to move to a later time slot until things are adjusted and more stable where I'm at home. But I will determine that based on whether I can start on time tomorrow. So I'm going to attempt to start at 11. If I don't, you will see a message in the Discord. You can check the Discord in the link in my channel links. You will see the Discord link. Join that, and you'll be able to get the message on whether or not I'll start on time. So thank you for watching. Have a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day outside, and as long as you woke up, it's a good day. Don't let anything try to ruin it. Peace out.